Ian, we have a
Patreon.com/CU podcast. You go, you look at what we have on offer, and you go, hey, I like these guys. I can give them a little money. Give us a little money.
I like these guys. I can give them money.
I can give them a little money.
Works the same at Chippendales.
And then you can get the full video podcast.
Weekly writing from Ian.
You get weekly writing. You get bonus content.
I need a bonus button.
Hangouts.
Once a month if you want.
Which we did last week. And you get access to these poll questions.
And now we have a tier for we have the Enamel Pin Club.
That's right.
So you can get an enamel pin mailed to you in a tier, plus all the rewards before. A new tier. Check it out. And if you're on the higher tier than the Pin Club, you go in your Patreon, you fill in your address, and Pat will mail you one of the nice enamel pins right there. So let's run down the poll. You do the poll topic. You do it, Ian.
So it is. Just how bad was Pat's last day job?
Jesus Christ, Ian. How long had we doing the podcast? You didn't know how to run this down. In second place, Ian.
19% for how is gaming on the NJ Boardwalk different in 2022. And then just how bad was Pat's last day job? 10-year anniversary, 81 percentage points.
Aren't you curious, Ian? And this comes on the heels. I put out a video yesterday, Monday. I didn't think about it. I think I realized it last week, Ian, that I quit my day job, my awful healthcare market research job. I quit it 10 years ago. I think it was like the end of the first week, start of the second week in July. And I should have had, I think at one point I might have remembered it as an anniversary date. And it was weird because when I got to 5 years away, I thought it was a long time. 5 years away was before I moved here, but I was looking for a house. Now it's 10 years.
10 years sometimes feels quick, but then if you put it in like comparison to something else, you realize that it's a long time.
Yeah. So the video I put out, check it out on my good old YouTube channel when you get a chance. 30 minutes of me rambling, one take, because I can do it. Talking about how my life has changed the past 10 years, what I've done, starting the podcast with Ian, the books, video game years, working with Retroware, going to conventions, yada, yada, yada. But I didn't get into the details of my job and why I quit and what I went through. He knows a little bit of it, but not everything. So you're curious about what I did and, my move and everything and how it sort of evolved.
I mean, I've heard most of this stuff, but I'm sure they are very curious.
Can you pretend, Ian, that you haven't?
I've heard.
Ian, you're breaking the fourth wall, Ian.
Pat, I've known you for how long? I know these things. People don't think I don't know
Ian, this is show business.
People don't think I don't know.
This is show business. You don't know everything. You know most of it.
But yes, of course. I mean, it's an interesting story, especially the decision to walk away from it.
But about the job specifically. So I was a supervisor.
Supervisory Sam.
So like the lowest you can be for like management, like the lowest you could be. And I led a team of at the height 5 or 6.
And this was work from home for the second half?
No, this was in Jersey before I moved.
Okay, but you did do work from home out here for a while. You did.
See, Ian thinks he knows everything. He doesn't. Yes. So I was a manager.
Right. No, I said
I was
for
a
the
manager there.
Half. Yeah.
So I started the job in 2006. It was my third corporate job. I came from consumer market research for that. And then that was bad too. And then market research sucks in general. And then I went to the healthcare side. What I did was I managed people who deployed internet surveys to healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, healthcare practitioners, nurses assistants, things like that, physician assistants, a lot of PA work.
Yeah, there's some medical stuff.
Yeah. So that's what we did. A lot of it was Salesforce effectiveness. I hate to say it, this is why it was bad. Salesforce effectiveness. What does that mean, Ian? It means the effectiveness of the message from the pharma sales rep when they talk to doctors to peddle their drugs.
Right.
Basically ask the doctors, well, what did our rep talk to you about the past month? What do you remember the message being? How effective were they doing?
Yeah, how effective is your advertising?
Basically.
Our advertising.
And there's a ton of money in that, obviously.
Oh, yeah, tons. Yeah.
So I'm not saying none of the clients we worked for were altruistic. Some were medical tools and surgical tools and things like that. But the vast majority is literally SFE, Salesforce effectiveness. That's what it was. So you're working for big pharma companies in Jersey, tons of pharmaceutical companies in New Jersey, lots.
Like headquarters?
Yes, that's where they're headquartered.
So
a
like
lot.
GlaxoSmithKline and
Bristol Myers Squibb, J&J, I think is involved in some of it. I think there's like Merck. Merck is gigantic. They're all
Right.
Jersey or like Eastern Pennsylvania. They're all headquartered there. And then even like the eye care ones like Vistacon and things like that. I think they're mostly over there for like contact lenses. So that's what I did. And I also project managed myself. So I basically did 2 jobs in one, really 1.5. So it started okay. It started where, I'm not being overworked to death. Yeah, I'll put in a 45-hour work every now and then. That's highly stressful, or like a 50, but it's okay. It's not every week. It's like once every 8 or 9 or 10 weeks, and it's fine. The problem this is going to be both me explaining things about what I did and also warnings about how not to work. The problem is I work too hard. And I was plucky young Pat, and I'm not saying to be a lazy worker. What I'm warning against is do not go out of your way to do things for a company that isn't in your job description expecting some sort of reward or recognition.
do what's asked of your job description.
Yes.
But you do not have to go out of your way to bend over and please corporate masters.
Yes, and I'm not saying there aren't jobs out there or corporations you work for that will reward someone like that.
Sure.
My job did not. While on my job, I trained. I was managing and training new employees. I was always good at training and getting people up to speed, new employees and things like that. I created. It's so fucking stupid because they probably still use it today. I created like a 75 to 90 page manual, step by step, about how to train an employee, basically going through the entire process of running a project. I mean, like intensive, like well detailed, using the software, using
training materials.
Yeah, that didn't exist before. I created it for the company, and I wasn't asked to. I did it because I figured, well, this is smart to do this because I'm going to be training employees and other people will, and it's going to be to the benefit of the company that we have this all laid down.
I mean, it was smart to do it.
It absolutely was smart, except like I got nothing for that.
Yeah, there was no recognition.
No recognition. And besides that, I went out of my way to obviously help out and pitched in, and eventually got to the point where I was so efficient. Obviously, what I was doing, I was doing the work of at least 1.5 employees.
Oh, sure.
Sometimes 2. By the time I got to the end, I was doing 2 employees' work, which I'll get to. And obviously, my salary wasn't commensurate. I wasn't paid a little, but I wasn't paid what I was doing. Well, that's fine. A lot of people don't get paid, unfortunately, what they think they're worth. The issue was, though, that it was the lack of respect from my boss. Her name was Terry. Terry, if you're out there, not good things to say about you, Terry. Terry was the perfect middle manager who had no idea what you did day to day, could not do any of the steps of the process of what you did, yet could try to tell you what to do. The worst type of manager is the person that has no idea what you do or how you do it. And that was Terry.
So they just tell you how to do things, but they couldn't they couldn't step in and do shit if they needed to.
They would give you words of encouragement, or you need to do this, or this is our deadline. And it's like, you don't know what's on my plate. I ran on average between 5 and 8 projects at the same time.
Sure.
From front to back with that. And so it was one of those things where like you kind of knew about it, but it was the first time I experienced it that close up, where like my main boss, because my job before that, the bosses kind of knew what we were doing. She had no idea. The person that eventually became my boss, Chris, he knew what I did and eventually got into a kind of partial boss position. And it was great because Chris was fantastic. And I love Chris if you're out there. Probably the best boss I ever had. Very understanding, didn't push you too hard, but kept you accountable. The perfect boss, Chris. And Chris left the company, I believe, after I left as well.
Places like that don't hold on to good employees.
They can't, unfortunately, because when you have a toxic culture, the toxic culture pushes those people away. Where it's just like
you can't ever pay those people what they're worth either.
Not just that, but it goes sort of you butt heads against the people that are there to pick up a paycheck that don't know what the fuck they're doing. Yeah. Like Terry. And Terry was a chain smoker.
Terry.
She would take smoke breaks. I'm serious because I was in a managerial position in Jersey. I'll never forget this, Terry. fuck you for this. This was demeaning, and this is a power play, and there was no reason to do this. We had a lot of empty offices, window offices. I had the coveted corner cubicle because no one behind me. The fucking air duct right above me that blew on me constantly, and I got sick from it. I don't think I ever told you that. I was like constantly sniffling.
I would have loved that, but that's
not getting
bad for you.
Microbes and bacteria and viruses on you. And I complained about it, and so they finally, I had to get instead of them doing something like redirecting it, I had to get a fucking piece of cardboard, stick it above me to redirect the air. I just remembered that. I had to literally do that because it was coming down right on my head. Anyway,
Jesus.
Terry's office was
Christ.
to my left. She had the corner office. I had the corner cube. You want to say that? And then, but I was in a managerial position. I held meetings, and there was always offices available. There was like 6 to 8 offices from between our 2 offices where you'd have people visit from North Jersey. And I asked Terry, I'd go working there sometimes. I said, Terry, can I have a permanent office here? Like, I think it makes sense. It would be nice. They're not being used. That's
right.
They weren't being used.
Fucking used.
And she refused. Total power play, dick move. That at that point, I'm like, yeah, no, she's that sort of person. So I would just start going in the office and using. I was just use it. And someone says something because it's private. It's nice. You can close the door. And so it was bad. And then there was the sexual harassment that happened. It mildly happened I told you it happened a little bit at Suncoast Motion Picture Company.
Yeah.
It definitely happened here. And again, sexual harassment isn't always about someone being attracted to someone. It's about power.
Oh, it absolutely is.
The same way with sexual assault. A lot of times it's just power play. It has nothing to do with the sexual proclivities, things like that.
It's almost 100%. It's just like they say, rape is not about sex. Sexual harassment is oftentimes not about sex either. Mm-hmm. They're both power moves to make the other person feel scared and diminished.
Yes. So this is why, again, I'm still in Jersey. In my corner office, I should have went to HR, but it was like, well, this isn't too bad. I knew it was inappropriate. I should have went because it happened more than once. Where
always got to report to HR.
Yeah, who knows if they would have been retaliatory? But the way I thought at the time, when I was in my late 20s, though, I was a lot more unbalanced and unhinged. I would have got a lawyer.
Lots of people don't go to HR specifically because they think it's going to be retaliatory.
So I got the old come up behind me and start massaging me thing happen to me. So how's it going? How we doing here?
Is this Terry?
This is Terry still. And I don't think she was attracted to me. So I was like, that was weird. And I was just like, this is weird. I was working a little later, but it happened more than once. And it was weird. And it was totally a power play thing.
Sure.
And it was disgusting.
Yeah.
And that happened to me. And it's not something
That's
I looked
awful.
I don't feel like I was saying I wasn't like totally violating, but obviously it wasn't right. And then I don't know if she did to someone else. So it was weird. So basically, I worked there for a few years, and I wanted to move out here. We know the story. And so I took a title demotion, but then they kept my same salary, which was a net positive for moving to a better location.
Yeah.
But cost of living is a little bit higher in San Diego than Jersey. Jersey's not cheap, but it's, San Diego's higher. So
California in general.
Yeah, San Diego's top 10 in the U.S., usually like 9 or 10. Might have to be higher now, who knows? So moved out. So instead of to justify them giving me the same salary but not managing, they threw more work at me projects. I was already doing a full project manager's job load on top of the managerial responsibility. I was then quickly doing the work between 1.5 and 2 people and doing it efficiently. And that's the problem. Again, problem. When you work at most jobs, when you're efficient and good at your job, you're rewarded with more work. Not more money, not a better position. They throw more work at you to see what your breaking point is, even though the other people are doing less work than you and have the same position or a similar position. I was doing more work than all the other project managers. I knew it, but I was sort of like, well, I'm working from home, whatever. Problem is my health took a turn for the worse. Ian saw it. Your expression, I looked gray.
Yes, you looked gray.
I was just totally burnt out. I took a vacation every now and then, but not what I should. I was not using. I got 3 weeks paid vacation. I never took 3 weeks. I took like 7 days a year. But I banked them. I almost never took sick days. I should have took sick days since those were separate and not bankable. I should have took more. I should have took a sick day every other fucking week or month. I think I got 10 a year for sick days. I should have took those.
Yeah, use your personal days.
You use your sick days.
Sick days, yeah.
Because
Sick
those
days
are unpaid.
Yep.
I mean those will count against you. Like the paid ones, you know.
Right, because they don't bank.
Yeah, they don't bank. So so it went along, and then the issue was, which happens with other companies sometimes, where it didn't start like this, where someone left the company, whether they got a better position elsewhere or they quit or were fired, they stopped replacing people.
Yeah.
So a team of 7 or 8 or 9 people that I start with now is a team of 5 or 6.
And that's how you know it's a gross, bad corporation to work for, because they see that people leave. They see that everyone else can struggle and get it done.
Oh,
and they
we'll
look at their bottom line and they go, well, we're making more money now, so why would we do that?
Yeah, Pat's doing 5 or 6 projects now. He can do 8 instead of 6 at the same time. That's how they think, unfortunately. So that became bad. Dealing with the employees, dealing with co-workers. I was very good at playing the game, but I hated it. It ate away at my soul. Putting on the happy face of people that could be like trying to undercut you the next day, or speaking behind your back, or try to get you into trouble for a project thing that wasn't your fault at all. That was something you had to live with, because you had to work with the salespeople, and the salespeople don't give a shit about you for the most part. Some are good, but most just want the bottom line. They want their commission. They want a deadline that the client says they want to stick to it. They don't even care what it takes to get there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I worked hand in hand with salespeople all the time that interface with our huge clients. So, you had to deal with that, and then it's interesting when you think about working in an office. That it's true. You see these people more than your family and friends. You're 40 hours a week with these people.
Oh yeah.
And you have to force yourself to like these people, and then go out to lunch. I'm not saying there weren't nice people, but there were definitely, like, you're forcing yourself. I'll put it this way: am I speaking to anyone I used to work with? No. I'm speaking to one person.
Oh, impressive.
My friend Tommy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you said
one
Tommy.
Person.
Yeah.
That I say I'm friends with and still speak to fairly regularly. And then there's a couple people I think about that I'll catch up with every few years maybe. And that's it. These are people you go out to lunch with and you spend time with. And then it was weird because their personal life would bleed into yours sometimes, because they tell you about their problems while at lunch. And I feel like saying this is inappropriate. I'll never forget this. And God, if someone's listening that works with me, I hate calling this out. It was the 3 of us, 3 guys. We go out to lunch like maybe once a week. We go out to a diner. We loved Indian food.
Sure.
Never forget this as long as I live, Ian. I think I've told you this story. And this was a nice guy, not nice, your average white male, you know, nice dude, probably like 38, 39, you know, wife and a couple kids probably. We're out at lunch, and it was me, the second person, who was probably in his like mid to late 40s with a family, and me, I'm 27, you know. All of a sudden, the guy goes, so does your wife and girlfriends do they do that oral sex thing? And me and the second guy look at us like, yeah, that happens when you're with someone. Why do you ask? Yeah, my wife doesn't like doing that. She says it's against God's will, so we don't do that. And yeah, you know, do you think that's not normal? And we're looking at you like, what the fuck did we just? I just want to eat my chicken tandoori.
Right.
Like, what the hell is
I don't
this?
want to talk about blowjobs.
I don't want to talk about this
at lunch.
And so it was interesting to have to deal with stuff like that and try to be friendly with people that, like, you have no choice. You can't put up total walls because you're with these people and you have to work with them.
Yeah.
You have to work with these people. But it just ate away at my soul. It just ate away at the soul. I wear my heart on my sleeve a lot of times, but so you had to do a lot of acting. You had to pretend to like all these people that you couldn't fucking stand.
Of course.
Again, not everyone. There's like a handful of people at each office that I adored and liked. Christina at the one office, I still like you. I'll probably reach out. I might have your number still and talk to you. But it was bad. Then there's the other thing that happened that was this interesting aside, that there was a contingency that thought I was gay, and this is why. I was deathly afraid of being accused of sexual harassment, so far that I not only never like hit on a woman, I never even got to that point where I was totally neutral, like sort of like asexual, you could say, in the
Sure.
office, which is not healthy, by the way. You got to have some. We're humans. We have to have some leeway here. But there was a woman from the other office that was attractive, and we did go out for like drinks as a group, that asked around if I was gay because I never hit on her. And I'm like, well, that's interesting.
That's weird.
and then I will throw you under the bus, Chris. The Chris that I did like, who was gay, by the way. He wasn't sure if I was gay. So he called my friend Tommy, who is gay. And Tommy knew I wasn't gay. And he said, hey, Tommy, yeah, just wondering, is Pat gay? And Tommy had the best response. Said, I don't know, Chris. Let me get out my gay phone book and look him up to see. And so he kept it a total mystery, even though he knew. So it was just a fun thing. It probably didn't help that I also wear, probably out of fashion, I wore like really those tight, stretchy shirts. And I did like baking brownies for all the women in the office. I did cook and bring in cakes and brownies. I'm not saying you're heterosexual, you don't do that, but probably in that office environment, probably I was the only guy doing that. I like to cook, and I didn't want to eat all the brownies myself, Ian. That's all.
Good brownies.
So you're saying, what was the breaking point? Do you remember what the breaking point was where I told you I got to get out? Do you remember the fall of 2011, what happened to me?
Yes, vaguely.
You remember?
Tell me.
Okay. I had my surgeries done.
Yeah.
So I had 3 touch-up surgeries
Yes.
done at the same time. This was all at the same time. Who does 3 surgeries at once? A fucking crazy person does.
A person who's trying to do way too fucking much.
A person that cares way too much about the company. And this is another warning. Never be loyal to a company. You can be loyal to people you work with, to individuals, not to a company. And
Correct.
And at that point, they were too intertwined with me. So I said, I'll have 3 surgeries at once because I'll be out less time. And that'll be good for the rest. The team was already hurting. We were down employees that weren't rehired to help. So I had a surgery on my finger because I broke it in college. They had to clean up some crap in there. It's still not 100%. My toe that was broken since I was a child, I had issues with. And the worst one was my knee. They had to clean up all the shit in my knee from my ACL surgery.
Yeah, I remember that. I
My
remember
knee
you
was
said that
bothering me.
was really, really bad.
I'd be able to run, but it'd be inflamed.
Right.
So I had 3 surgeries at once done by the doctor, and I scheduled only a week off for that. Only a week.
Yeah, I definitely recall that.
Because I'm fucking crazy. And then I remember I was in so much pain still. After the week, I had to say, I can't come back this week.
Yeah,
I need
can't
a
do
second
this.
week. And I'd never taken sick days, like 1 sick day or 2. I never took off multiple days. Never did that. Never. The other manager in my position at the other office, because we share jobs between offices, I found out she started talking trash about me.
Yeah.
Joanne, fuck you.
Joe,
You old bag. Fuck you, Joanne. I was always nice to you. And then this is what I got for it. She thought I was faking. She thought I was milking 3 surgeries. How dare I be out for 2 weeks for 10 business days? How dare I doing 3 surgeries at once? Once that got back to me from reliable sources, she said this on a fucking call.
Yeah.
She said this on a meeting call. She said this. Once this got back to me, it was the beginning of the end. It should have hit me sooner. I went to HR. I said, that does not play. I heard her say this stuff. And so that was the beginning of the fucking end. I said, I need to get out. This is the way I'm being treated, not just by the company, but by my fellow workers who I'm trying to look out for. This is the fucking end of
And
the
you
line.
said she was a manager?
She was in the same position I had before I moved, and they gave me that title
they gave you
demotion.
okay, gotcha.
And so I'd worked with her, and we basically managed different teams, different locations.
Got it.
And so at that point, I'm like, fuck this place. And I don't think anything was done about when that happened. So fast forward to the next May.
Yeah, unfortunately, being an asshole is not actionable.
But that's a shitty thing to say about someone's surgery.
It's absolutely shitty to say. I'm just saying, like, there's...
You think I'm fucking faking
No, it's awful.
milking injuries? Holy shit. Anyway, so the next May, I decide I was at my breaking point. Ian saw my bad health. I wasn't taking lunch breaks. I was working crunchy like I said on the video I came out with, it's not just the fact that, hey, you might do a 45-hour work week. There's stressful hours.
Right.
There's a difference between a 40-hour work week and a stressful 40-hour work. High tension. If you fuck up, it's your ass. Client-driven stuff, awful. I finally went to HR. I called them up. I said, I'm miserable. I was honest. I said, I'm not sugarcoating. I said, I'm miserable. I don't feel respected. I'm overworked. That shit that happened in the fall, that Joanne said, that doesn't fly. I said, I'm not quitting. I said, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to still do my job. I'm going to do it competently, but I'll be looking for a new job, and that's it. And I'm going to be working. I'll be clocking in and out, and don't expect anything more than what the average worker would do. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And the HR person, to their credit, said, I appreciate it, your honesty. I'll get back to you. The HR person in Jersey, she liked me. She was actually fairly nice. She used to cry to me sometimes because she had to fire people. I literally had to like talk to her. I'd be like, I feel like saying, well, you shouldn't have this job. But I mean, like that happened in both locations, actually.
I don't think empathetic people can remain in an
It's
HR
hard.
position for long because they're not your friends. They are cover. They are cover for corporations.
Fuck you, Terry. Another story. Fuck you, Terry. Terry, you fired people. I was responsible for helping hire people. Making those decisions. I was never responsible for firing people. Fuck you, Terry. You fired someone. You made me go to the HR and sit in with it as their manager said to you. You should have had the fucking balls, the wrong parts, to sit in that meeting. If you fire the person, Terry, you should have to sit in with HR. Not me.
Yeah.
Not me. I just sit in with people being fired. Then afterwards, the HR person starts fucking crying. And I got to console them. I forgot about that. Fuck you, Terry. Anyway, so that was the last straw. Last straw. And then I also had a new manager that came from the consumer side from a merger, and she didn't respect me at all. And I felt like saying, you're from the consumer side, you're managing me. Consumer market research is totally different than healthcare. You don't know my fucking job. You know the steps involved. You don't know the job of what I do. So she didn't like me too. So I think my HR person had a conversation with them, and then they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have you work out. The next week, be your last week to offload. They said, we're not going to stop you from getting unemployment insurance. That's all I've said. I said, I want this in writing. I said,
yes.
I said, I want this because they can try to block it if they say I quit. I said, I'm not quitting. They said, no, we're going to come to terms. So we came to terms for me to leave. And then, so I was paid, I think I was paid an extra week for like a 2 weeks notice. They gave me an extra week. And then I got obviously my paid time off. So I got paid like 6 extra weeks on top of that. And I was done. I was out. And not many calls or emails saying, hey, we're going to miss you. That's the way it is in the corporate world. Once you're gone, out of sight, out of mind, persona non grata. There's a couple of people, but for the most part, though, we don't care. You're gone. And it's weird how that infects the corporate world where like you lose your humanity to the point where like you can just block someone like that, but it's like you're gone. It's like cutting off a member of your family. You don't matter anymore. You literally don't matter.
Yeah,
you're done. You're done. So it took me, it took me several months to recover from the stress and from the unwinding of all that shit built up in me. I did like the NES Punk stuff. I did one a month for the rest of the year. I remember I did that. I did like Commando, I did Scoon, I did the Sega Master System, not Sega, the Car Wars Christmas stuff. I did all that stuff that year. I did track.
Yeah, you did quite a bit.
I did the track and field one right away.
Yep.
But it took a while for me to get my bearings and to come back to who I was, if that makes sense. So there you go. You got any questions about it? Anything else that happened there? That was most of the highlights, but it was it was funny because it did not start off as the worst job. It turned into it.
As a corporation starts to see you, sees what you'll do, realizes that there's someone that they can take advantage of, they'll just keep, and it sometimes it's like a straw at a time, but they will just keep building up the pressure until you break. And they expect, I think there's an expectation that you'll break and leave and they'll hire someone else in like that. I've seen a lot of people who have done corporate jobs for a while, and I feel like it's almost like beating the system because you're not meant to put in that sort of environment. You just can't sustain yourself and take care of yourself.
I mean, I could have if I slacked off.
Well, sure.
If I honestly worked what I thought the average worker should be doing, but then they would have put me up. They would have said, well, you perform better forward. We're going to do performance reviews. I could have milked that out and not be scared. That probably would have been the way to go. Honestly, I would have said, I'm going to work on what the average person works on, and that's it.
Well, and personally
then,
for me, I can't take it easy. Like that stress of not getting, so many people are like, whatever, it's work. But like for me, that stress of not getting something done
yes,
will always keep you working harder for certain, for certain people.
But that's bad.
Yes, it is.
Because it's unhealthy. And then if you're, like I said, you're not getting compensated for it. And I didn't get even raises the past few years. So that stopped too. I think it stopped across the company, but like it was nuts. This was what would have happened if I did the average amount of work. They would put me on performance plans. I would have said, "Oh yeah, I'll do better," and I think it would have been status quo for a while,
right?
Until they got sick of me, just because they would have spited themselves.
Sure,
companies will spite themselves. This company should have let me stay on from a totally objective standpoint. After I said I was miserable, they would have said, "Okay, if he's going to still perform to a decent expectations, he's still better than an average worker. He should do it." But they don't want potential troublemakers around like that.
No, once someone gets unhappy, they
want you out. That's what happens. I was shocked it was that quickly. It was like within the day, Ian, from the phone call. I think it was that after. It was like 10 a.m. I'm miserable, and here's what's going to happen. As I said to them, I think it was that afternoon, like 3 hours later. They probably had a couple meetings. What can we offload Pat's work? And then it was out the door.
That's it. They don't want that to spread.
Yeah. I mean, I worked from home at that point, so it's like, well, we don't have to have an awkward thing. Because I've been in mass firings as well. The company had 2 mass firings while I was there, too, where they literally put 20 people in a conference room.
And we're like, you're all gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's happened. Oh, no, they do the opposite. They do the people that aren't fired. I forget what happened. This happened twice in the one office. They get everyone away who's not fired so everyone can clear out their desk so everyone doesn't see it. I forget. It's fucking awful either way. It's like inhumane. I understand if you have to let people go, but mass firings are never pretty.
No.
To do that. But yeah, that's my story there.
All right.
And as stressful as my current job ever gets, or as I say, I'm suffering. You can hear some of the stuff that happens. It's still better than that.
No, of course.
It's still better than that.
Nothing like working on your own time.